Hi, what's up? Welcome to a new video. For those who are new here, my name is Tina and I love to yap about books, and we are here today to yap about the books I've read in January. And I'm sorry if you hear noises, but they are cutting branches of trees in my neighborhood, so there might be some noises about that. I'm sorry. So I did go back to work full-time this month to put aside some money for Japan. And thus I've read only 3 novels, but they are big ones. The first one is Shining by Stephen King. I wanted to read this one for so long and it was gifted to me, and it's the perfect read for winter. I won't say it's the perfect read for winter, but it's perfect to read in winter. And this is the story of Jack Torrance. He's kind of in a turn in his life. He needs to go back on the rail, in the good path, and he's a teacher at a school and he's a writer aside of it. He loves to write play and he's writing a play. He needs to focus on it. But he was fired recently from his teacher job. You'll know why reading it. But he got a new job at the Overlook Hotel as a caretaker during the winter season when it's closed, with his wife and his son. They're going to live there. But soon rather odd things are happening and he learns informations on this hotel because it's quite old and this has history, and this is just I kind of loved the writing. You'll see why I have mixed feeling about it, because at the beginning of the story you're deeply anchored in the character's life, in Jack's life with his wife Winnie, and his son Daniel, and you get to know them and to kind of root for them, to understand them better and deep dive into their psychology. And this has multiple point of views, such as Winnie, Jack and Daniel, for example. And I'm not usually a huge fan of reading from child's point of view, and this one was really well done because it was realistic, and usually I find it not realistic because they are thinking like adults most of the time, which is weird to me at least. And this one is really well done, and you have access, contrary to the film, to their thoughts and their inner dialogue, especially for Jack's inner dialogue. This is just so interesting. And the character's physics attributes and the physics of the character are very different from the movie, so I really loved to read the book, to see the original work. But sometimes I felt it was a bit long, but that's not even an issue with this book because it's well written. But what was an issue was that sometimes the writing was a bit violent on the insults, on the cursing, from Jack's point of view at least, and sexualized sometimes. So this is an issue for me because I do not love those kind of characters, even though this is kind of a psychological deep dive into a character's personality, so that's the point of it. I'm aware of that. But it was kind of difficult to read sometimes. Difficult mentally, not difficult in the writing style, difficult just to read from this character point of view, as you will see for another book. So it made me sometimes, and I thought that I would feel more goosebumps, if I can say it like that. I was kind of horrified sometimes, but not terrified, if you know what I mean. This is a horror book and I wanted to be terrified, and I was not terrified, even though I had definitely some moments, if you know what I mean. I did not felt dread, I just felt uncomfortable reading some passage, but overall really enjoyed it, but just not a favorite, okay? But I would still recommend to read it if you enjoyed the film, because it's worth it just for that, to read the original work, because it's so interesting. And it is known that Stephen King didn't really like how the film turned out, but I still love it. I still love the film and I'm loving the book. But as to know which one I prefer, that's kind of tricky. I would still say the book, because I'd rather prioritize the original work. I don't know, but still love the movie really much. That's hard. That's a hard question actually. All of that just to say that I would recommend you to read it, to make your own point of view, because it's still worth it, but just not a favorite for me. Just didn't vibe enough with it. Some things disturbed me. Really loved the setting of the book in the hotel during the wintery season. I ate it up even though it is 755 pages in this edition. So yeah, really enjoyed it. Okay, I already talked too much about this one for a long time. And next I read Volume 2, A Clash of Kings from A Song of Ice and Fire, the Game of Thrones series. This one is still as violent as the first one, and at the end it begins to be even more violent because you have, through all the stories, war, violent related stuff, which is, I want to say, normalized at that time. And because I love to step out of my comfort zone, that's why. And because this is so well written. This has so many political plots and so many complex, vivid, descripted, yes, characters, and lovable, above all, lovable. And you want to follow them and you're growing up with them. At the end, the turnout leads to, I think, and I know because I watched the TV show, psychological violences with the introduction of Ramsay. If you know, you know. If you watched the TV show or read the book, you know. And I'm not ready for that. And I'm just super glad to be reunited with the characters again, to see how they're evolving, especially because I love the storyline of Arya. The development of the characters, it's just so good. But this is just so violent, especially towards women, but also violently during the war physically with men, but so violent to women. And you realized how at that time they were really nothing in the eyes of men, and that's hard to read sometimes, but realistic, unfortunately. And it was quite long, but I ate it up. I really ate this book so fast. I read it in like 2 weeks, despite the fact I was working outside. And this series, it's too much, but also it's so good. It's just so well written. I did not give it 5 stars, I gave it 4.75 stars because some things bugged me a little. The one that was not an issue, but I need to talk about it, is the fact that we don't see a lot of Daenerys in this one, which made me a little sad. And another one that was an issue is, for me, useless descriptions of tits. Again, I don't know why. That's a detail, but worth talking about it. And Theon, why do we have to read from his point of view? I hate it. I hate it every time. I hate him. But you also hate him from TV shows, so that's at least accurate. From now on, the TV show is very accurate to the books. I can't wait to see if it deviates a little bit from the story afterwards, but not a 5 stars. But, it's so good. It's almost there. It's really almost there. I love the first one. I gave it 5 stars. The tits. Mostly the tits. It made me enjoy it less, but it's so good. Next, after having read some violence, war-related stuff, I needed a sweet, comforting read, and what a better way to have that than to read the third book in Before the Coffee Gets Cold series. I don't see another way. And it delivered. It was perfect to read after those huge books. And I read it for the Japan in January. I didn't know it was a thing. I've known about it like super late in the month, so I managed to read that because it's super short. And I really liked this one because I think the writing is getting better and better. It's less repetitive in the sense that he's less reminding us of the rules each time we have a stories, because these are 4 short stories kind of intertwined between the characters, and in the first 2 books in the series you have the rules repeated at every beginning of the story, and now in this book it is used in a more smarter way, if I can say it like that. It's more fluid when you read it, and I love the fact that we are in a different setting, we are in a different cafe. Don't want to say too much, and I didn't even talk to you about the book in itself because I assumed you already know, but just quickly and shortly, this is about a cafe, not in Tokyo this time but in Hakodate, and you can return to the past under certain rules, and usually those rules make people don't want to go in the past anymore when they hear about them, because you can change the present. Whatever you do in the past, you can change the present, and would you still go if you couldn't? I think it's super beautiful to read about people who just want to go in the past to see their loved ones. Yes, but it's not a 5 stars. I give it 4.5 stars because the stories moved me a little bit less. Still really enjoyed it, but not a favorite because I did not connect as much as I did with the previous books. Still loving it. I cannot deny that. I love this series so much. I cannot wait to read the 4th book because it's I think only getting better and better. So it's getting better in writing, but the stories just moved me a little bit less. That's contradictory, but I'm a complex creator, okay? Definitely recommend this series. For sure, 100%. You learn basic empathy stuff in these books, which are, I think, I recommend to anyone to be an empathic person. That's right. So that's it for novels, but I've read a lot of mangas this month, and let's just go through them quickly, but not too quickly. First, I've started another series, which is Monster by Naoki Urasawa, which is a series I wanted to read for so long, and I waited to finish 20th Century Boys to read it. I'm loving it. I'm loving it for sure for now. I've only read volume 1, but I already know it's gonna be another favorite from Naoki Urasawa. This is about Dr. Tenma, a Japanese who went to Germany to be a doctor because he thinks he can have a lot of opportunities there to start a good career, but he ends up, I don't want to say too much because this is a thriller, a situation which he didn't want it to be part of. Just if you love mangas and you didn't read this yet, I'm not sure how it's gonna go, but for now I'm really loving it, and if I'm loving volume 2, I would say that I recommend it to you for sure. But if you read it already, please tell me how you felt about it, because I'm super curious and intrigued, and I love the covers. They're just gorgeous. Next, of course, I've read my comfort read of the month, which is Yona of the Dawn volume 20, and I love how Yona is evolving still. I giggled so much in this one, and at the end we are left with a cliffhanger, which made me only to want to read the next one. I can't wait to buy the 21st volume, 21st, yeah, volume. So still loving this series, it's dear to me. Next, I've read volume 2 of the Diaries of an Apothecary, and still loving it. I think that Mao Mao is so smart and funny. She's so funny. I love her so much. This is the manga version of a novel which follows Mao Mao, targeted by a man in the castle, in the imperial castle, to use her skills with herbs and kind of medicine to take care of the concubine of the emperor, and she has to make her way to be discreet and to be useful for them because she has her reasons to be discreet, and I love it so much. I love to read about the plots in the imperial castle. This is just so entertaining. That's the word. It's entertaining and funny, and Mao Mao, the main character, is so lovable. She's so endearing. It works super well. So definitely continuing this next month. Next, I started finally A Sign of Affection after hearing it by a Clockwork Reader, and I don't regret it. It's just so cute. I wasn't expecting to be that much moved by this story. This is the story of a deaf girl who meets a guy in the subway, which happens to be from her school, and they kind of get along together, and she's teaching him the sign language in Japanese, and that's just so cute. There is so much cuteness in it. I'm definitely intrigued because I cannot define the character of Itsumi, the guy she meets, the guy Yuki, the main character, meets in the train subway. So yeah, I'm really intrigued. So definitely reading the second volume, and I'm gonna talk about it more if I happen to love it. Next, an easy read is Delicious in Dungeons, and this is just so funny and unique in a way because it happens in Dungeons and Dragons world, but in an isekai way, which means that it happens in a virtual world, and this is acts focus on the gourmet thing, on the food, and I love it. I love it. It's so funny. It's just a treat to read, okay? It's an easy read. I love food and I love to laugh, so I'm an easy girl to please. Another cute read is Sasaki and Miyano, and how to say it. It's volume 2. Miyano is the one who is teaching to Sasaki the boys' love world, and they're so cute. As you may have already picked up, they kind of develop a relation and they're just so cute together. I love it. Definitely continuing the series. An easy read also, but kind of a coming out of age theme, and I love it. Next, I've read, of course, volume 13 of Vagabond, which is one of my favorite series. Musashi meets a new opponent, and it happens to be one of his acquaintances. It reads so quickly because they are fighting, so there are not that much of dialogues. And this manga is not cheap. It's like almost 10 euros the volume, so... But the drawings are so good. I do not regret spending any money on this, but yeah, they're fast to read, and I'm afraid it's gonna get repetitive because every time he meets a new opponent, they kind of resolve in the same way, but we'll just see. And definitely intrigued to read the next volumes, for sure, not stopping there. But yeah, definitely one of my favorite things to read. And another one of my favorite series to read, Kingdom, volume 18. This is getting better and better. Each time I'm reading a volume, it's crazy. This one is about another political intrigue, and they're engaged in another battle, and that's just so good. If you don't know already, and I need to make a video about the series, but this is about the unification of China in the historical fiction genre. And you follow characters that are just so lovable and complex. I love them. So yeah, with a tiny dash of fantasy. So yeah, definitely love this manga. And also the drawings are so good. Love this style of drawing. It's just, yeah. Know what I mean. Know what I mean. Next, finally, for the mangas, I've read volume 15 of Black Butler. This one takes place in a school because Yale is kind of infiltrating. I think you can say it. He's undercover for an investigation, and that's not my favorite setting, but it's still rather funny, and yeah, it's still funny. Thus, I did not give it 5 stars, but rather 4 stars, but yeah. Still enjoyed it, still a beloved series of mine. For the graphic novels, I've read 2. I've read volume 1 of The Walking Dead. I don't have it with me, I lended it to my boyfriend, but that's so interesting to read the comics because I've seen the TV show, didn't finish it because I got bored after the Negan part. The first one, at least, the TV show is super faithful to it, so I definitely loved to be reunited with the characters again, because at the time The Walking Dead was such a huge TV show. I remember everyone waiting every week to just see the episode, and everyone was posting about it and we were yapping about it all the time. It's crazy to see how it kind of decreased after sometimes, but yeah, it was definitely huge. So I'm really glad I'm reading the comics. It's super interesting and I forgot a lot of things. You know, those kind of moment when you love a series or something and you didn't really read about it for years or watch it for years, and you return to it. If you don't know the story already, sorry, it's about Rick, a police officer, policeman, who is waking up after being in the coma, but in a rather odd situations because there are zombies everywhere. And his main priority is to find his wife and his son, Laurie and Carl, because they are not in his home. He's gonna look for them and you follow him through his adventures, and that's crazy. I'm not a huge comic girl because I find that the lines of the comics are a bit harsh, if I can say it like that, but I love those ones. Really love those ones. So yeah, definitely recommend to read it. If you watch the TV shows and love to read, just go for it. I don't regret it, but there are a lot of volumes and I'm really intrigued to see how it's going, because the TV show, I think, deviate a bit from the story, and you see it because they created Daryl, the character of Daryl, just for the TV show. He's not existing in the comics. So yeah, I'm really intrigued to see the original work for sure. And I've read another graphic novel, Rebis. This one is in French, but I know it's translated in English, and I loved it. I love this one. I gave it 5 stars because this is the story of a baby born in the medieval time, but he has the unfortune, if I can say it like that, to be born albinous, and he's rejected by his family. He's blamed for all the stuff that are happening in the small village, but he finds a witch. He finds a witch living near the village and he's spending time with her. When his parents want to cast him, he goes to live with the witch, and you see him growing up and how including and heartwarming and comforting this story is. This is just so good, and the drawings are so beautiful. I'll insert you some pages, it's gonna be easier. I think the end is kind of abrupt maybe, but I really loved it, and it reminds me a bit of Slewfoot in a way, but yeah, we loved it. Hi, this is Sunday Me because somehow I lost the footage of the outros. So as always guys, thank you for clicking, thank you for watching till the end. I hope you enjoyed the video, so I hope to see you on the next one. Bye!